Why were you trying to contact me?
You oppose the heretics, those that took the old machines as gods.
All kinds of organics fought Sovereign and his Geth allies. Why am I so interesting?
You were the most successful. You killed their god. You succeeded where others did not. Your code is superior.
Welcome to Superior Code, a solo podcast. I just got in the mood to wanting to defend Kaidan and Ashley, but mostly Kaidan, because I feel like the hate Ashley gets from the fan base is more understandable than what Kaidan gets. So I'll talk about her at the way end because her character is known as the racist against other aliens, and she has character development, but it's like very missable if you're not a completionist. So I'll talk about her at the end. Kaidan, though, I feel like he's so nice. He's basically Liara in the first game, but male and human. But he's like, they're both very kind, wholesome, nice, open-minded. They're the most Paragon squad mates you can ever have in the whole series. So obviously Liara changes and hardens up, but for the most part Kaidan doesn't. Like, he still stays the same soldier and loyal to the Alliance as he was in the first game. So, and I feel like if Liara had never changed, she would still have a huge fan base. Like, obviously, I love the direction and the development of her character to be more hardened, and obviously she softens in the third game, but she's never quite as sweet as she was in the first game, while Kaidan is still the same Kaidan from the first game. And I feel like if Kaidan wasn't human or a man, he would be likable. People would see him like, oh, she's so cute, like, she's a cute character, she's a sweet character, blah blah blah. But because it's a man and a human, people are bored by him. But imagine Kaidan's personality, character story, whatever, exactly the same, but he was an Asari or a Turian. People would love him. So I just kind of want to explain how his character isn't boring, because he has a huge fan base versus another boring character who's actually boring, that his fan base seems to be non-existent, and that's Jacob. I've been watching a lot of blind playthroughs because ever since the Legendary Edition came out, there's been a lot of new fans getting into the series, which is great, and I love that. And it's been really fun getting to relive the first time experience again, like, through their eyes, And for the most part, all of, like, them being interested in the main story and everything is exactly how I felt. So that's been really fun. A lot of them still read, like, the codex and everything, which is what I did as well. So for the most part, it's been really fun. And the frustrating part comes with when they don't make room for character development. So when Kaidan or Ashley tells you they don't trust you in the second game, we're supposed to feel hurt. We're supposed to feel annoyed by that. So that's scripted, right? It's valid for anyone to be upset with Kaidan and Ashley for calling you a traitor, Just like with Miranda, Jack, Rex, if we're playing as a Paragon, we're supposed to immediately not really like them or trust them, because the story is trying to tell us that Miranda's a bitch. The story is trying to tell us that Jack is an asshole and that Rex is an asshole. But within that same game, which is like an advantage that Kaidan's character doesn't have. You could see their character development within the same game. Kaidan's, we don't get to see him until the next game. So we get to see like Miranda, Rex, and Jack soften up within that same game and become Shepard's friend and everything. But I feel like Kaidan's confrontation, I guess, is Kaidan Ashley's confrontation is like more understandable, because it's like, if you just stop and think about it and see it from their point of view, or like maybe on the next playthrough, now that you know what's happening, just to understand, like, it really does look like Shepard faked her death. It really does look like she's being controlled by Cerberus. Like, how do they know that Shepard doesn't have a control chip in her brain? It totally makes sense that they would do that. It just really, really seemed like within the writing, they made Elusive Man way too trusting. And to me, it's a bit of a plot hole, because I feel like, how is a control chip gonna mess with her personality? It should be there as a safeguard. Like, imagine if Shepard was their puppet. They would have so much support from people and everything if they played it smart. So I feel like the Elusive Man would have let Shepard have her own opinion until, like, let's say you're too much of, like, no, I don't trust you, I don't want to do this. The control chip could come in handy to be like, no, you have to, like, stop the collectors. Like, there's a line where he's like, if you go to Freedom's Progress and find out there's nothing, we can go our separate ways. It's like, really? You're gonna invest 2 years into Shepard just to let her walk away and be with the Alliance and be like, yeah, it's not the collectors. Let's continue fighting the Geth. So it really, that's kind of a plot hole. So for me, it makes sense that Ashley and Kaidan would think that Cerberus is controlling her somehow. And they're just in the shock of like, whoa, Shepard is actually alive, but the ship blew up. How? So I wish that more players would stop and think about how it's totally understandable that they would feel like you're a traitor or you're not the same Shepard. So it was really frustrating to me when all of these blind playthroughs still didn't like Kaidan, even after his development of like finally trusting Shepard and saying like, I'll never doubt you again, right before you invite him onto your ship again in the third game. And they still didn't care. They still treated him as if he didn't trust Shepard. I don't know if these blind playthroughs were like acting it up because they know they're gonna put it on YouTube and people are gonna see it, so they're technically talking to the camera. So I don't know if they were just acting it up to stay in this role play of hating Kaidan, because a lot of the Kaidan haters are so loud in the comments versus the ones who like him. So they just felt like, oh, I'm gonna connect with people about our hate of Kaidan and stuff like that. So I don't know if that was why, or if they truly just didn't see or care for his character development of like, you're not being controlled by Cerberus. I know this now. Because for like, imagine if they didn't give a damn about like Miranda, Jack, and Rex. Like when a person who played when they first got Rex in the first game, like, oh no, this is like an evil character, huh? I don't know if I'll like him, and then they ended up liking him. So imagine if like these characters, when they're developing and softening up and opening up to you, they were just like, yeah, I don't care. Remember that time you were a bitch to me? Maybe remember that time when you just killed a guy? I don't care, because I'm gonna remember that moment forever and ever and ever. Anytime this character speaks, I'm just gonna keep remembering that time where I didn't like you. and that would be really annoying, right? So that's how I felt every time Kaidan had some insightful dialogue and they would just blow it off like, I don't give a shit what you have to say, Kaidan, or like, if Kaidan said one thing, the player would think the other, just in spite. But it's like, if Kaidan's dialogue was being said by Joker or Garrus or Liara, like, they totally would pay attention and been like, oh, this is such good writing, I love this banter, I love this so much. But because it's Kaidan, they're like rolling their eyes anytime they had to talk to him after every mission just to get his dialogue. And that's what I guess that's the main reason why I felt like I gotta do an episode on like why Kaidan isn't that bad, or isn't bad at all. Like, it's not even that bad, he's not bad at all, it's character development. And I wanted to talk about how, like, I love this series so much, I'm obsessed with it. But I'm not gonna ignore that there's a bit of plot holes or like forced bad writing when it comes to like, it doesn't make sense that only one character, like obviously it's Kaidan and Ashley, but they can't both be alive at the same time, so it's just one character that doubts Shepard. That when they find out she's working for Cerberus and that she's alive, only one character, like everyone else is just like, oh wait a minute, you're alive? You're working for Cerberus? And Shepard's like, yeah, we're gonna stop the Collector. Like, oh okay, I trust you. Okay, I'll join. So it's kind of like not good writing, in my opinion, when it's like, are you serious? Just one character doubts me, everyone else is just gonna blindly follow me into hell? Like, I know, like, the only reason Tali doesn't like Cerberus is because they attacked her own people, but it's like, it doesn't matter if they attacked your people or not. They're Cerberus, and we know what they've done in the first game. They're brutal experiments, they're purely evil, and their reputation and everything is like as terrorists. So I feel like, especially for Tali, because it's more personal to her, it should have been a lot harder to convince other characters to trust that Cerberus is the only source of support and resources we are gonna get for the Collectors to stopping them. They're the only ones who believe that there's a connection to the Reapers from the missing human colonists. So instead of every character getting like 2 missions, like the recruiting mission and the loyalty mission, I feel like after we recruit them, there should be an extra mission of like trying to convince them and show them that Cerberus is necessary for now, and then the loyalty mission. So I feel like the second game could have been longer, like the third game, to make room for those type of quests. So it really is unfair that only Kaidan and Ashley get this type of hate, because it's like the player's thinking, well, everyone else trusts me, why don't you? So fuck you. So it really is like an unfair advantage to these characters of receiving that hate, when it's like, it's makes sense though. Imagine if Garrus hated Cerberus so much but liked Shepard a lot, like respected them, but was still as like, I don't know if I can join, I'll just help you with resources. And then like the players would understand, they would totally understand, because it's Garrus saying it, or someone who isn't human, you know? And that's why like an added quest, like maybe these second quests can come from after you meet Liara finally, and she tells you, I'm the one who gave your body to Cerberus to bring you back. So maybe after finding that out, that could be like a key to unlocking these other quests, to show like, look, I had no say in it, Cerberus brought me back, because it's important to stopping the Reapers, because I actually believe the Reapers are coming, and that's why they brought me back. So it just would have been really nice if the writing did that, because then it would make it way more understandable why Kaidan didn't want to join, other than, oh, stupid boring human doesn't trust me, I don't give a damn because I have all these other cool companions who do trust me. So all of the blind playthroughs that I've watched are playing femship, and I've looked for them like that on purpose because I prefer that voice acting. So they all can't romance Tally. So if you've romanced Tally as male shepherd, this doesn't apply to you, because obviously you have a reason to really like Tally. So if you play as male shep and you didn't romance her, or you play as femshep, and you're a full Paragon player, then it really doesn't make sense that you would like Tally and not treat her like you treat the racist Ashley. So Tally is totally biased and racist against synthetics and AI and everything because of her people's history. And these players, when they're like in agreement that the Geth are alive, there are people, they don't want to kill the Geth whatsoever, and they're like conflicted because they don't know yet that they can have peace between the Geth and Quarians. They're thinking they're gonna have to choose one or the other. So when they're like, oh, I don't know who to choose, I love the Geth, but I also love Tally, I don't know who to choose. And like her hate against like the Geth and everything, and they're still saying stuff like, Tally's so great, she's so cute, I love Tally. They totally would not be treating her like that if she were human. They would totally be treating her like they do Ashley. They would totally be like, oh, stop being so hateful, so racist, like these are living creatures, you know? If they're asking if they're alive, if they're asking if they have a soul, like how could you still call it it? Like when Tally says it, we freed it, like in that moment when they're talking about Legion, all of the blind playthroughs that I've seen have kept their mouth shut about that. Like they don't like say like, oh, come on Tally, stop. And you know, they totally give her a pass because she's not human, because they automatically like her because she's an alien. Like I love Tally, I really do, but on my first experience, I love AI and robotic characters like in any sci-fi stuff, not just in Mass Effect. So anytime I meet a character in a video game or movie or whatever, and they don't like AIs and stuff, I'm totally thinking, yeah, you're not gonna be my favorite. I like Tally, but I was like, you're not gonna be one of my favorites if you're gonna keep being this way. Like obviously Tally changes in the third game. After you have peace, she starts to trust them, but before that moment she was still one of the characters I was like, I don't like your views on the Geth. I don't like your views at all. So what I'm trying to say is, I wish more players would see characters for their opinions and their personality and not by how they look. I wish they would judge them by that, instead of like, oh, not human, automatically interesting, automatically have good writing, you know? I wish that they would judge them based on getting to know them and everything. So I want to talk about Jacob. So in the third game, you find Jacob again halfway through the third game, and during that time, like all of the blind playthroughs have already gotten Kaidan with them. So it just seemed like their excitement to see Jacob was just to do it in spite of Kaidan, of like, oh, Jacob, I'm so excited to see this human character instead of this other human character I have on my team. So that came off as annoying when their excitement kept up every time Jacob popped up again. Well, 2 times later when he popped up again. Again, when he wants to meet up on the Citadel to talk about his girlfriend and him having a baby, and the other time when the Citadel DLC and the party and everything. Every time they were excited to see Jacob, and it was like Jacob didn't really give him a reason why. So I found a video explaining why Jacob is like the worst squad mate in the Mass Effect trilogy. Like that's what the video is called, by Pinkman Wolf. I'll link the video in the description. And he really sums up why Jacob is like the worst versus like the other 2 characters that they compare him to, which is like Kaidan and James, because they're all 3 male human squad mates that get the definition of boring. But like the points that the video makes is the difference between Jacob, Kaidan, and James is James and Kaidan have a big fan base. Like, it's pretty big. James is known for being like the funniest. Like, he's just really funny. He's very relatable. That's like, James reminds us of that funny friend we all have, you know, or had, or like the class clown or something. Like, James is very like relatable to, makes us think about the friend or the classmate that we had. Like, if you don't like him your first playthrough, you're definitely like him your second. Like, he has very funny dialogue. And then Kaidan, like, the whole point I'm making in this video is why he has a huge fan base is because he's very sweet. He's a nice person. He's very like wholesome and everything Liara was in the first game. And I haven't even gotten into like romancing him, which is one of the biggest parts why he has a huge fan base, is because you can't romance him in the first game as a male, but you can in the third game. So Kaidan is bisexual, and so you can romance him as male or female in the third game. So his romance is very, very sweet, and like one of the most romantic romances that I've ever played within Mass Effect. Like, I love Garrus. I really do. But like, Garrus's romance is nowhere near as romantic as it is with Kaidan. So those are the 2 differences, while like Jacob's fanbase is kind of non-existent. It's very, very rare that you'll see a fan who really likes Jacob after multiple playthroughs, or really likes Jacob after romancing him still. So it's, to get into that too, he is the only squad mate, the only romanceable character that will cheat on Shepard. So that's why it's so much more rare to see someone still like Jacob after they've romanced him, because he cheats on you and he's not that sorry about it. He's just like, you were gone for 6 months. What, did you expect me to wait around forever? Like, so obviously it's interesting that there's a character that will cheat on you, and it could have been interesting, but the fact that he's not even sorry about it, and the fact that the confrontation is very short and very just ends abruptly, and the rest of that mission, it just goes back to default dialogue as if you're not romancing him whatsoever. It's just kind of disappointing, and just felt like, oh, this whole romance was closed up in a rush, right? Like, they didn't really care, like, oh, not that many people romanced him, so we'll just have it to where he says, what, you expect him to ride around forever? Who cares? And that's it. That's all you get until the Citadel DLC, where they allow Shepard to slap him, but it's like such a weak slap, and then that's about it. And after that, you could still invite him to the party, and he just acts like nothing ever happened. It's just very disappointing conclusion to that romance if you liked him. So his fan base is like very, very small or non-existent. And like how the video points out, it's like because Kasumi is a DLC character, she came in later obviously, and it's like the developers seen that he was the least romanceable character, that nobody really wanted to romance him, so they made like Kasumi have a crush on him as like an inside joke of like, well, at least Kasumi likes him. Kasumi's his only fan base, so it's like the developers knew. But I wish they hadn't made it to where he cheats. So obviously these blind playthroughs, they don't know that about Jacob. They don't know that he cheats. They don't know he's difficult to romance, because like he is one of the most hardest characters to romance, because you have to pick a few renegade options to get him interested. But you can't go full renegade or you come off as rude, so you kind of have to pick the right option to get him to romance you in the first place, all for it to end up when he cheats on you and doesn't care. But yeah, it could have been interesting, but the fact that his character doesn't open up. So these blind playthroughs may not know that he cheats on you, but they do know that he doesn't open up because they played the second game. So when you ask him about his past with Miranda, he doesn't want to talk about it. When you ask him about his past, about like his career and everything, whatever he told you the first time, like when you're about to meet the elusive man, that is the only time he opens up. Like, he doesn't want to talk about it anymore after that. And after you do his loyalty mission and you ask him about his dad, he doesn't want to talk about it. So this is another point that the video showed, that it's like, these are the reasons why he's the most boring character, because Kaidan talks about his past. He opens up. He tells you like his trauma. He tells you like the hardest thing he had to do in his life, like the first time he killed someone and everything. And James also, like, when you first meet him, he summarizes what happened to him, but he doesn't tell you exactly because he doesn't want to talk about it at that moment. But later on, when he gets to know you, or you get to know him better, he opens up and tells you exactly what happened. Like, they open up. And, well, Jacob never does. Like, even when you meet him again in the third game and ask him, like, about his dad, he just gives a one-sentence answer, and then that's it. He doesn't want to go into any of it. So it's really annoying when these blind playthrough YouTubers just totally forget that they didn't learn anything about Jacob, other than he's a soldier and he used to work for the Alliance, and then switched to Cerberus, and then now doesn't work with Cerberus and just got a girl pregnant. Like, that's all we know about him, and that he hates his dad. Like, everyone else has more depth to them, you know? And it's like they forgot that when they spoke to him in the second game, he really does come off as an asshole if you're going full Paragon, which they did. If you go full Paragon, you can't romance him. That's why his romance is a bit tricky. So if you go full romance, you come off as like clingy, I guess. And to him, he's like, I'm not in favor of these forced talks. Let's just talk later when there's actually something to talk about. Or like, he's not interested in getting too close just for the sake of it, because It's like you're making the rounds to talk to your companions, to get to know them, but he's saying like, oh, you're trying to get into my pants, like, I don't know about this. So it's like they all experienced that, and it's like they all forgot that he says it in such like a rude way, and they forgot. If you go full Paragon, he's like not into it. So it really does seem like they just like him more, in just to do it in spite of Kaidan, because they're both human and male, and I have hope that on their second playthrough they'll see that Kaidan is so much more of a better written character than Jacob is, sadly. Like, Jacob is totally just there for eye candy, because he doesn't open up about anything. The video says it perfectly. He's not loyal to the Alliance, he's not loyal to Shepard, and he's not loyal to Cerberus. He's not really loyal to anyone. So maybe they'll see that in their next playthrough. Or, like, I guess this is more catered to the people in the comments of those videos saying, like, yeah, I hate Kaidan, fuck him. Like, maybe they'll... Like, they obviously replayed the series over and over and over again, and it's like, how do you not see that Kaidan is a better character than Jacob? I guess it's totally fair if you hate Kaidan and hate Jacob, but to hate them both the same, it's like... It's really weird when most players are full Paragon people, right? So it's like a bunch of nice guys hating on the nice guy. It's really weird. So I want to talk about Andromeda characters, because I want to compare the hate that Liam gets versus Kaidan. So Liam's hate is understandable because we're supposed to feel frustrated, because what he does is very stupid. Like, it's like, even within the game it says this is fucking stupid, and he puts all the Milky Way characters, the Milky Way people, in danger with what he does. And because he does a lot of decisions behind Ryder's back, and Ryder's supposed to be like the boss, right? It's like if a character in the trilogy did something behind Shepard's back that put the whole Normandy crew in danger, or put all of Earth in danger or something, right? But that doesn't happen. But because Ryder is still like so casual, it's like it Liam felt like, oh, I'll help Ryder out. Like, your character's very young, and your character becomes like the leader unexpectedly. Like, you weren't ready for this. You just kind of had to, because unexpectedly, right? So it makes sense that this happened, and I like that this happened. Like, I like hating Liam. I like that there's a character that I can butt heads with. I love, like, the drama of that. And another character, Anderson, that female character that's just really rude on the Nexus, she asks Ryder, is there someone on your team that you just can't stand, but for some reason you still work well together in battle? And you have the option to say yes or no. Like, yes, there is someone, or no, you love everyone. But the fact that you can say yes, there is I love that when Ryder responds to that, she's like, oh yeah, yep, there really is. It's like her annoyance and frustration comes out with, like, just thinking about Liam, or whatever character that is. Because I also don't really like Drac, because he's one of those characters that doesn't like AI. Like, oh, you're an AI? I don't like your existence. So he's totally hating AI, even though Sam didn't do anything to earn that hate, you know? So automatically not a character that's going to be my favorite. Drax's a good person, just like Tally's a good person, but if you hate AI for no reason, like any other AI that like didn't do anything to you, nope, not my favorite. So anyways, the character I had in mind when she asked me that question was Liam, and I'm sure everyone else was thinking that too. And the difference with Liam and Kaidan is Kaidan doesn't do anything stupid that puts anyone in danger. Like, if people are thinking about, oh, he was like protecting the council when Udina was one of the evil ones, it's like, how is he supposed to know that? Like, if you're seeing it from his point of view, he was protecting all three of them, right? So it's like his job was to protect all three of them. So it's just really weird, doesn't make any sense why Udina would be evil. Like, obviously we learn it's because he was out of options and he thought he could just use Cerberus, but it turns out it's like, you're not good at planning this, you should have informed someone of this plan. But that's what it turned out to be. Like, in Kaidan's mind, it's like, this makes no sense. Why the fuck is Udina evil? Like, what? So he was unsure while he was pointing a gun at Shepard. So, like, Kaidan doesn't do anything as bad that Liam did. Liam totally, like, could have killed everyone. Kaidan never makes a mistake like that. So, I feel like that's another reason that it's just completely, Kaidan doesn't deserve the hate when you've played multiple times and you have time to think about all this, and you're just remembering the first time you played, and you keep judging a character based on that. That's where it's, like, very frustrating. So, finally, let's talk about Ashley. So, the hate Ashley gets, I'm not even going to talk about, like, the second game of her also not trusting Shepard, because you could just bunch that in with the defense I made for Kaidan. So, the hate for Ashley is she comes off as racist right off the bat. Like, as soon as you get to talk to her on the Normandy, you find out about this, or like as soon as you take her on the Citadel, you can unlock her dialogue where she says, "I can't tell the aliens from the animals." So her hate is way more like understandable because of that. Like, that's a very strong statement, especially on a first playthrough. You don't really understand that humans are second rate in the galaxy. They're still very, very new. If you're not a full completionist, if you don't, like, read the codex or anything, you don't truly understand that humans are still young and new to the other aliens, like, in their eyes. Like, a lot of them think that humans don't deserve how quickly they've gained popularity within the galaxy, how quickly they've gotten an embassy. So they're very like, humans are looked down upon by the snobs, and a lot of the aliens are snobs, and like, we're just not as advanced. They're just not as advanced, the humans, like, technology-wise, when they're first introduced to the galaxy. So that's, like, the biggest reason for me why it's okay that she has a fandom, because I feel like the completionists love Ashley. Because we see her character development in the elevator conversations. So if you're not a completionist, you're gonna completely miss out on her development, because you hear, like, her saying, like, "Oh, I guess I have a lot more to learn about your people," or like Rex saying, "Oh, I guess all Krogan are the same, huh?" And Ashley's like, "No, I didn't mean it that way." And you get to hear, like, her uncertainty and her grow and her rethink her own values and opinions and stuff like that on other aliens, and you get to hear her being more understanding and everything. In the elevator conversations, I think you unlock way more elevator conversations the more missions you do and stuff. Especially like in the main missions, she totally is so rude to Liara, like the most nicest character, right? So that's another reason why people are like, oh, her racism is just so strong, she's just hating on her and everything. Like, she immediately just doesn't trust that Liara doesn't know anything about what her mother's up to and everything. So it's a shame when people see that and then they don't even want Ashley on their team to even go on the elevators with. So, and it's valid, you know? So, even like learning about her past of like why she has a sore spot for aliens because of what her family had to go through, like her grandfather and everything, but it's like that was humans. That was her own people punishing her. It wasn't aliens. So I feel like the game makes her see that in the conversations that she has with the alien crew on the elevator. Because if after Vermeer and you choose to sacrifice her in the second game, there's like a radio news report or whatever going on, like an audio thing for Ashley's memorial or whatever, and they're saying one of her quotes was something like, we're all just animals together. Like, the second game is telling you her character development happened before Vermeer for her to even give that quote. So you only see that character development in like the elevators and the random conversations of that when her talking to other people. So it's just really sad that that's the only way you can see it, because in the third game she completely doesn't even talk about it whatsoever. So it's like you don't know, like, does she still hate aliens, or is she just not talking about it, you know? It doesn't really show you her character development, and that's like really sad to me, because that's like one of the big reasons everyone didn't like her. I wish they would have addressed it up front in a dialogue option, because another way to see her development, or like her mindset of like the reason she doesn't like aliens is because she feels oppressed by them, is when she's talking about aliens, you could pick the renegade options, and obviously the renegade options are way more rude than whatever she says. And then like if she's like, I don't trust all these aliens on this ship, you have as a renegade, you can be like, yeah, I don't trust these damn aliens either. And she'll correct Shepard, like, no, I don't think that we shouldn't have their help or anything. I'm not saying that we can't fully trust them or anything, or that we should hate them. I'm just saying that if it was the other way around and we were on their ship, they wouldn't let us walk around everywhere. They'd have us in a certain room or something, in a guest room or something. Like, they would treat us the way I want to treat them when they're a guest on the ship, instead of them walking around acting like they own it. So it's a shame when you have to see more of her gentle side and more of her like logical side by being renegade or seeing elevator conversations. Obviously it took a second playthrough, but I really like Ashley. I think she's fucking badass. It's just after she gets her character development, you can truly just appreciate her character and how she thinks of Tali as a little sister and everything. And I love that. I think she's great. So I love a strong woman. I am like disappointed how they made her look in the third game. Like in the first two games, she has her hair up like a professional soldier, In the third game, she has it down like a supermodel, so other than that, I really love her character. I really do. And I will say I've never romanced her before, because I've only played as femship. So I don't know if you romance her, if that's another way of seeing her character development, if she somehow, I don't know why she would, but if there's a way to like talk about you shouldn't hate aliens so much or something, I don't know. But I've never romanced her, so I don't know that side of her. So maybe because I know her fan base is coming from everything I've talked about. So I don't know if her fan base, more of the fan base is coming from romancing her. So I'm excited to get into that because I started a male playthrough for the first time and I plan on romancing Ashley. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed me defending Kaidan and Ashley, because it just rubbed me the wrong way when I seen, even to after finishing the whole game, they still didn't trust Kaidan. And with Ashley, it's still like understandable if people don't like Ashley, but hopefully if you replay the game, you can try to unlock those dialogues to see that she has development. Hopefully you enjoyed too watching us in the Citadel Strip, and hopefully it felt like we were talking while standing in the malls and everything, because I haven't been to the mall in a while. I'll leave a link to where I got the audio from. It's from a channel called Gaming Ambiance. It's really nice if you just want to listen to it without me talking over the sound effects and everything. So, thanks for listening.